everyone, I'm Elise Tan. I'm your host today for this podcast, Hard Truths by Vertex. Today, I'm really happy to have Sonam and Kanika on our show. Kanika is my colleague and partner at Vertex Ventures Southeast Asia and India. She also led the round for Karkhana, which is founded by Sonam. Yeah, I'm really glad to have Sonam on the show. So let me share with you what is Sonam's background. So Sonam, she's the founder of Karkhana. Sonam was inspired to build Karkhana when she was working on solving engineering problems across multiple business units at Procter& Gamble. She witnessed some of the underlying challenges in the manufacturing industry in India, and she thought of a platform that would solve those problems. Eventually, that led her to build Karkhana.io. So today we are going to have a conversation with both of them to better understand what Sonam has been working on, what Karkhana is about. So let me start off with asking my colleague Kanika first. How did you get to meet Sonam? And also understand how we work closely with our portfolio founders to help them become global and regional champions.
Sure. So technically, we found Sonam first. Uh, we were building a B2B thesis for India, and Sonam happened to know one of our colleagues from engineering college. So we had reached out to Sonam then, and at that time, I think she wasn't raising or she wasn't really ready to talk to funds. So we tracked Karkhana for a bit, and then when Sonam decided to raise money, she reached out to us, and that's when we had the first formal conversation. But technically, yeah, we found Sonam first.
Got it. And I remember this year, earlier on, we interviewed you and your story about how you got beaten by the entrepreneurial bug and how you started your own company finally. Do you want to share more about it?
Sure. In fact, Elise, manufacturing is one of those areas where you don't really find many females, right? So this question, I don't think I can even count how many times I've been asked that how does it feel like to be a female building a business in manufacturing and, doing unconventional stuff. But what even further strengthens the belief of having more and more women in manufacturing is the confidence that Vertex had when they invested in Karkhana in me. And, a cherry on the cake is that one of the female partners at Vertex is the one who showed her conviction to invest in this. So, in a way, I think it's a very, very strong statement that not just me as the founder of Karkhana.io, but even the investment partners we have believe in the vision of having more and more women in manufacturing and walking the talk. So yeah, that I think is I personally feel great about, and I think it's extremely symbolic of supporting that belief system.
Yeah, but I would say at least it was not by design. It's not like we were out looking for a women founder, or we said that, okay, women founder, so female partner has to be on the board. I think it was just coincidental that, when we met Sonam, we realized she really knows the sector very well, right? And she really knew what she was doing, which is actually very rare to find at the stage of company she was in. So that really gave us a lot of confidence that, yes, manufacturing is a tough sector, but Sonam can crack it, and she's not one to back down from a tough conversation or a tough sell or a tough pitch, right? So I think that's really what convinced us the most. So the fact that she was a woman was, at that time interesting, but not something which we thought a lot about. Frankly, I think what we just try to see is that, is there a business which can be built, because manufacturing is tough for different reasons, right? And one of those reasons is that it's usually a big boys game. uh, the largest manufacturers want to work with the largest suppliers, and here there was this idly piddly company, trying to disrupt the space. So really that is most of the discussion which we had. And I think it was just coincidental that, I think, at Vertex we also always try to get the best founder investor fit. So hopefully we achieve that with Karkhana. Uh, so yeah, it's, I think, a story of good coincidences.
Yes,
And
like I
uh,
agree.
yeah.
As I think most people on listening to us on podcasts or YouTube know that we are very female founder friendly. But Kanika also gave a good reminder that we invest because of the quality of the founder, regardless of the gender. So we are really looking at ideas that can potentially change the world, and we find the best founder to execute the idea, and then to keep betting on them, backing them so that they will succeed. So great. Just wondering, what is your first impression of each other?
Yeah, sure. Um, so actually, the first interaction I had with Kanika, quite honestly, to me, she came across as somebody who was very rational, very very straightforward. But when you come across somebody who's extremely straightforward, very rational in the way they conduct the conversation, but at the same time extremely smart, and asking the right questions, that was something that just brought a lot of seriousness in the conversation, I would say. So that was my first impression of Kanika, that she's straightforward, no person. And yeah, I think I continue to admire that about her.
Yeah, I must say that you are a very good people reader, because that's exactly,
No,
and I,
that's
I
not
love
good.
that. I love that about our colleagues at Vertex as well. That we are straightforward, but sometimes we really need to know the truth, and we need to know it at the right time as well. So it's really nice and refreshing to be frank, right? Be transparent and authentic with each other. What about you, Kanika?
I think the first meeting, Sonam came across as very confident on the business she's building. And she was able to back everything she said with either some data or with very tangible examples of how she really knows the business well, both from the commercial side as well as from the technical side. And I'm sure we'll talk more about Karkhana. This is a custom manufacturing business, and Sonam ends up working on very complex machine parts. So this is a specific industry segment where we do need technical expertise alongside commercial expertise, and I think Sonam demonstrated that very clearly. So I think that is something I remember. And then the other thing is tenacity, because I remember this was not Sonam's first business, right? She had done something else earlier. I think this was a pivot, almost a brand new business. She'd been through a co founder split as well. But she still demonstrated so much conviction and so much energy. I think that really impressed us.
Coming to what Karkhana.io is. So, what we are building is essentially a managed marketplace for manufacturing of custom built products. And here, through our platform, what we are trying to create is a transparent, speedy, and a reliable supply chain for products across multiple industries. And the approach that we have taken is that we are aggregating capacities available with multiple manufacturing suppliers across geographies, and building our own digital platform that makes the entire process of sourcing through them extremely efficient as well as transparent. So it just helps building a lot of trust for the customers to do a lot of the procurement that they were otherwise doing in a very painstaking manner, in a very efficient manner through our platform.
Was it because you mentioned that it must be custom made, and then they need only smaller quantities? Yeah, can you share with us more?
Sure. So here the product categories that we are targeting on are custom built, where these products are built as per the design and as per the specifications of our customers, and none of these are available off the shelf, right? So to manufacture these products, it requires, from a supply chain perspective, a lot of flexibility, a lot of agility, and also the ability to handle variation across raw materials, across manufacturing processes. So if we take Karkhana.io out of the equation, generally how most companies work is that they will put in lots of people in solving this problem, because essentially managing multiple suppliers requires a lot of micromanagement, figuring out what is happening at what stage. And this entire process is not run in a digital manner or a transparent manner today, which means the day of a sourcing manager or a procurement manager would start with picking up call for each and every supplier and asking them that what is the status of the manufacturing project that they're running on their shops. And not a this is not a pretty thing to do every single day, right? Secondly, this information that we share with them helps them speed up the decision making process as well. They don't have to juggle between a lot of conversations and figure out what information to focus on. All of that gets eased out through our platform. And another thing is, by the way of aggregation, we are bringing access to multiple manufacturing processes, as well as access to multiple materials in which these products are built, all at one place. So it just simplifies and speeds up the entire process of procuring these custom built products for the customers.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I can't imagine sitting at a desk calling up all the manufacturers. Would they be able to discover through your platform, given that you have different vendors to choose from, that, oh, maybe another material might be better and sometimes even more cost effective? I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, so for the customer, where the process would start at sharing their designs and sharing what they want in terms of manufacturing process and material. When we receive that information, one of the processes that we follow very well is design for manufacturing, what we call DFM process. So all the data that we receive from the customer goes through a checklist, and there we are able to um, advise customers on not just saying that okay, this whether this material is good material to go for, but also identify certain features in their design and say whether this is risky to manufacture, or if this feature is changed, it can reduce cost. So that DFM process is something that again enables customers to take the right decision before they even build their first prototype with us, and reduce the number of iterations that they would otherwise have to go through.
Oh, that sounds super cool. What is the hard truth about building this company, about maybe being in the manufacturing industry so far?
I think this has a lot to do with the nature of products and the nature of manufacturing that we have signed up for, right? As I was speaking about um, custom built products, and the amount of diversity in materials and manufacturing processes that one needs to handle. Um, the complexity also multifolds. Here we are not talking about building, say, millions of units of a single type of product. Um, Here we need to be agile, first of all, as a system to deal with so much diversity in manufacturing, and even um, allowing the customers to build volumes at different sizes. And third thing is that even when you're building teams, right, ultimately people are behind all businesses, and have the ability to make or break what you're building. Making sure that even the people, uh, by culture, by design, by values, also carry the same agility and flexibility in handling this diversity in business. So that, I think, is the hard truth. It's very different from building millions of volumes of a single product.
Yeah, that's so true. I can imagine there's like countless permutations that your system has to handle. Is incredible. So I'm going to let you take a break. I'm going to now talk to Kanika. So Kanika, you mentioned that um, our company developed a thesis about manufacturing, right? And then you were looking for a solution in the space. So tell us more about it. What did you foresee was going to be the future of manufacturing?
Sure, Elise. So manufacturing, is a very large sector in India. It's been around for a long time. It provides a lot of employment, and in certain segments like automotive or machine parts, India does a lot of volume and value, not just for domestic manufacturing but also for export. At the same time, it has been a very traditional industry, and really, not much innovation in process or supply chain for a very long time. So when we were building a B2B thesis, we were essentially looking at business models which could disrupt a traditional supply chain using technology, bring in efficiency, and do this at scale while providing some kind of value to both a buyer and a seller. So we were actually looking for something where the margin profile indicates value accretion on both sides. And so therefore, it's not just a trade or a very low single digit margin business. And the other thing which really happens in emerging markets like India is that a lot of the supply chain runs on credit. So it's very different from some other markets where the supply chain is not so fragmented. But here, you actually do need to finance the suppliers. The buyers have their own working capital cycle. So a lot of B2B businesses actually end up becoming working capital businesses, which really in the long term is a margin erosion strategy. One, we want um, a business which can be built at scale with technology. Second, we want to see high gross margins because they are an indicator of value accretion in the supply chain. And third, while working capital, yes, will always be a lever, we want the business to grow even without working capital or at a large scale. I think these three aspects is where Karkhana really fit the bill for us, and that's how we kind of triangulated from a fairly broad thesis into this specific business.
Kanika, what is the hard truth about investing into this space?
Yeah, I think the first hard truth is that um, it's not a business which can be built overnight. So it's not a GMV business. It needs a little bit of patience. It needs you to drive tech adoption on both sides. And it really needs you to find, what specific value can you provide so that you can actually uh, build a moat and then start accreting value versus eroding it using discounting or working capital, etc., right? So I would say it's overall a fairly tough business, but I think if you build it the right way, this can be a fantastic business in the long run. And I think that's how we feel bad about the hard part, but then we still like the sector and the investment thesis.
So I also would like you to walk us through, the journey that you have seen for Karkhana, and then also at which point do you realize that there's a sufficient market validation that this is on track to becoming more and more scalable and successful. So maybe you can walk us through.
Sure. So when I started Karkhana.io, I mean, I started as a solo founder, right? And got a couple of people from my network. And as we were on this journey, we were doing a lot of experiments. Um, One of those was, working with as many industries or as many companies we could get a hang of from our own network, and not saying no to anything, because we also wanted to explore which are the sectors where it makes most sense to streamline the supply chain, where we would get the early adoption, and as an outcome of that, which would be the manufacturing processes that we would want to scale up on, both in terms of our own technological expertise as well as the supply capacity. So initially, I think for almost a year, we really did not have a digital platform. All we had was a front end where a customer can interact with us and put forward their request, but in the back end, all of us were peddling ducks, trying to figure out how to solve that problem. uh, but doing that gave us a lot of understanding and a lot of data on what to build on the platform side. Uh, in fact, we after we raised our round from Vertex, our first round from Vertex, is when we started building the tech team, complete tech team in house, the complete product team in house, and because we were very very confident what that output would has to look like. And since then, it has been about then scaling the experiences that succeeded with customers, and getting more and more customers, and also getting them to a stage where they would have started their journey building in small quantities with us. So this in fact formed the basis on what we want to also build on the platform side. So and in fact we still feel very very strong about that. Transparency is key. Transparency helps in making decisions faster and overall improves how manufacturing output uh, could be generated.
I think that your decision to observe first, to understand more about the customer needs before building is such a great idea, because sometimes, entrepreneurs rush to make the product. And as you know, when you build something, you have to tear it apart, when you make a mistake in the middle or some, right? So it is just going to take more and more time. So I love that instead of that, you get the specification right in the beginning to build, yeah, so that it actually helps to save time in the long run. So that's super cool. I also want to highlight something that you mentioned. Your customer find is very refreshing that you provide a very transparent service. And from interviewing our female founders, I realized that some of the things that you guys do really well, firstly, is customer centricity. So that has been common as a value. And then transparency as well, and I sometimes call it keeping stakeholder involved. And that is so crucial, important. All this I guess the success of the company sometimes come down to, or most of the time, come down to the values that you hold dear. So what are the values that your firm has?
uh, So again, it's been derived from what we have seen our customers valuing, and our effort has been holding those values internally as well. So one of the things is transparency, where across all stages, across all teams, across all functions, um, we maintain transparency about what we are doing, what we are building, how the company uh, uh, is doing, and being extremely candid about sharing the information across all levels of different teams. Second thing is open-mindedness. What I mean by that is, being open to differences in opinions, differences in backgrounds, and you know being accepting of the diversity that different people bring to the table. So in our team we have people from different regions of the country, and you would know India is a very very diverse nation, right? We have people across age groups, and I would say third thing is integrity. That's something we hold in a very very solid way, and something that we are very in, like, not tolerant about anybody neglecting integrity, because that goes a long way in establishing the trust that our customers have on us, the trust that we have on our suppliers, the trust that suppliers have on us. The kind of business we are, it's extremely important that people operate with integrity. So those are some of the things that we are extremely ardent about.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to add that I think we found Sonam is more thoughtful than usual about the team and the culture she's building. And we noticed that from a very early on, that every person who's coming in spends a lot of time with Sonam and the team even before they join. And I think as a result, Sonam's built a very strong team and also a very strong culture. So when you go to the office, you can really feel it, and I think it's also reflecting in very good retention, across the board, which is extremely important as you scale. So I think there Sonam has done a pretty exceptional job.
I'm glad you added that because people has always been such an important piece. When we interview our founders, some of our founders say that they regret most about not caring more about people and culture because that is really what make things happen, right? When you get that right, most of the time the jigsaw puzzle is there, it's all done.
I think what I try to encourage all our founders, including Sonam, to do is to be very comfortable in reaching out whenever they need to. So it's actually happened that one morning we've decided, okay, we'll catch up for coffee today because I didn't know Sonam is in town, and she just calls in the morning. And sometimes we also do weekly or monthly catch ups if we need to talk about certain important matters. Uh, I think from our side, we try to maintain a relationship of transparency and respect. Obviously, the founders always know their business the best, right? Especially the technical aspects, especially the daily operating aspects. And there are certain sectors, or actually certain areas rather, where investors can add value. So we try to develop that relationship where we establish early on that, look, we don't have all the answers, but we are there to partner with you in finding those answers, right? So just keep it open like that, and then ensure that there is enough comfort on both sides, that you just call the other person, when you have to discuss something without really thinking too much about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's okay to not get the answers every time, but I think what I appreciate a lot about Kanika, that she always asks really, really good questions. And I think those questions a lot of times become a solid nudge towards figuring things out. And having that informal structure is also very comfortable for the relationship that we have, and I think goes a long way in having trust in this relationship. I really, really appreciate Kanika and rest of the team at Vertex for creating this informal structure, being able to catch up with her over drinks, over coffee, and calling up anytime, even if, I mean, it's not about very discussing very structured things at work, but even if I am nervous about something or I need help thinking uh, uh, through how I'm going to say have a conversation with somebody else. So all of those things are extremely helpful.
So Sonam, how has if you were to take a step back, how has Vertex added value as an investor?
Um, I mean, first of all, trusting us and trusting me in this uh, on this path of building a tough business. Um, that has been very confidence inspiring. Um, Secondly, again, I'm going to repeat this. Uh, Instead of just forcing or rather presenting their side of things, it's the approach has always been trying to understand uh, more about the business from me, from my team, from us, and then helping put a structure around how to think about it, how to take the next steps, and where both of us do not have the right answers, um, bringing right questions to the table. And for me, as a single founder, sharing that mind space is also important when things are not so rosy. Being able to communicate those as is and seeking help um, is something that Vertex has been able to provide for. And I know that as long as the decisions or the steps that the business has to take are for the benefit of the business, Vertex will support us. So that comfort is, I think, something immeasurable.
Glad to hear. As a female founder, what do you think? What is the hard truth about it? You can share in terms of your space or in general.
I I don't think, I really don't know if this is something very specific to being a female founder, but I think most founders might find it challenging as their teams are growing is the ability to be authentic, the ability to say things as they are, the ability to call out uh, uh, internally as well as in other interactions is something that does not always come easy. And for me personally also, this is something that I have to keep reminding myself, and keep reiterating what is the larger vision. So that I think is extremely important to maintain across the team. um, I have also had challenges, but have been rightly reminded by people in my team that you maybe want to take a step back. Uh, don't try to be the person that you are not, and be more authentic, be more strong about what you think is the right thing here. So yeah, so I lucky on certain fronts there.
That's good. Yeah, I think it couldn't have been a very easy time, but you being so positive and really overcoming it in your own stride, I think that is very that's great. And then before we end, I also want to talk to Kanika about more about the investment scene in India, because I think this is really having a female senior investment professional in a VC firm is quite rare in India. According to Money Control, Vertex is one of the only 9 VCs that has a senior female investor. So tell us more about how did it feel to be working in your area?
I think at least India is one of the most exciting places to be. Right, if you're a founder or if you're thinking about starting up, and if you're an investor and you're looking to support early stage startups. And I think in the last 2 3 years, the ecosystem has just grown by leaps and bounds. We have so many more uh, just founders who have experienced technology companies before and are now coming forward to start up. You also have a lot more early stage investors, angels, accelerators, micro VCs, angel funds. So I think to some extent, even starting up has become a little bit more de-risked. A founding journey is hard, and um, doesn't matter which sector you start up in, there'll always be some things which go right, some things which go wrong, and you have to figure it out as you go along. So yeah, I would say it's an interesting space. It's becoming more competitive, which is both good as well as, I think, more challenging. So I think we are also discovering good definitions of what it means to be a good company, what it means to be a sustainable company, what it means to be a good founder. So I think the bar is now a lot more higher, right? Which is great because it means that the quality of companies which will come up in the ecosystem are a lot more higher.
I want to ask both of you, what would you say to a new female founder? What advice would you give?
I think I'll say the same thing. And again, to all founders, is you know stay authentic and bring your own self to how you build a company. And yeah, just be at it. It sometimes takes longer to do the things you want to do, but yeah, perseverance is key. But at the same time, knowing when to change course and having the resources to change course is something you should not lose the sight of. But yeah, like, be authentic, be at it. That's what I would say.
Cool. How about you, Kanika?
Uh, I think something similar. I would tell all founders that starting a company is a 10-year long journey. So at the very minimum, right? So before you start, you should be really, really committed and excited about the idea that you're building for, and you should always, always build with a long-term view. And really, if you are doing that, then male founder, female founder has no meaning, right? You will find the right partners for you along the journey, um, and that will take you to where you have to be. So I think what's most important is the conviction and the vision for anyone who's looking to start up today.
And if I may add, also bring on the right investors and partners who are able to share your values and really help you with your growth. Yeah, with that, I'll come to the end of our podcast. It's such a pleasure speaking to both of you, hearing from different perspectives from both of you. Thank you so much.